All right, welcome to Your Coach, Your Money, where we aim to educate and motivate our young athletes. And boy, do we have a young athlete with us today. We have the infamous RAGAN RETELL.
Yeah, we are excited.
From Tamarack School District. The state champ. There's now, I told Reagan before we started, there's now 2 state champions in this room.
Yeah, that's great.
There's now 2. Only one is undefeated. Were you undefeated?
In regards to what, though? You have to classify.
We're wrestling state champion.
Okay.
Wrestling. So for our audience out there, Reagan is one of a kind, phenomenal wrestler, phenomenal person. Tamarack High School. Obviously, her dad was a huge part of her success, and her family was a huge part of her success. 101-13. How good was that cake at 100 wins? Would you get a chocolate cake? What'd you get?
My aunt gave me $100 for 100 wins.
$100. I did not get $100. I did not make 100 wins. Reagan has that over me. 2024 state champ, 3rd at states in 2023. 2-time Eastern State finalist, and Eastern States, for our viewers out there, is the hardest tournament for any wrestler on the East Coast. And Reagan was a 2-time finalist there. 5-time All-American. And then you have the Trish Saunders Award for Up and Down State, which is, I guess, a phenomenal award. I want you to fill me in on what that award is and what it means to you. But ultimately, Reagan is being inducted into the National Wrestling Hall of Fame on September 29th. We're going to probably show up there and have our RAGAN RETELL shirts on. I got a big head on a shirt for her.
Yeah, what's more impressive is she hasn't even graduated completely from college yet.
High school yet?
High school.
Going into college,
sorry.
No, that's right.
And that's going to basically just propel her into that next phase, college itself.
College exciting. So, give us a little bit rundown. How was the wrestling season? I know it just finished, but in wrestling, it's never finished. You are always wrestling, right?
Always, yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about the season and a little bit about balance in your life as a young athlete. How did that go? How was your season?
My 2024 actually was probably my favorite year.
Really? What made it your favorite?
Just everything was just so non-stressful.
Oh.
I got to wrestle girls all year, and I always had my dad in my corner. So my dad actually, every time he'd coach me, he wouldn't be screaming at me. I actually don't think he only said a word when he needed to. So on the other high school coaches, I'd be getting screamed at the whole 6 minutes. And my dad, I'll look over, and he'd just give me a thumbs up.
Right? I mean, sometimes you watch great coaches in history, and I think about Vince Lombardi or even Bill Parcells, and you watch them during the course of a game, and they're almost spectators, because the work that it takes to get to that moment, and either be wrestling or football or MMA, you've already done the work by the time you walk on the mat.
Yeah, and a lot of times stress creates mistakes.
Right?
Right, because you can't focus, right? Your mind can't focus on that. So that ability to calm yourself down, take a deep breath, right, and focus on what the task is at hand, I think is powerful.
It's important that people know, as a wrestler, and Reagan, you're going to be wrestling in college, which I want you to talk about. There's a lot of balance, and obviously school is a big part of it. So talk to me a little bit about the support you got as an athlete, a student athlete, in school. What was it like balancing between sports and school as a high school athlete?
My whole high school career, it was I think my senior year was the most non-stressful thing. Junior year,
Regents exams, AP, right?
Throughout sophomore year, everyone was "Oh, junior year is gonna be the hardest year of your life," and I'm like, "No, it's not." I wanted to cry every day. Chemistry and stuff. But this year I did the CNA program.
Okay.
Which was nursing, and that with wrestling, I thought I was gonna go crazy. It was probably the easiest thing I've ever done.
Well, I mean, you love it though, right? It's something that you probably you fell in love with right away. Yeah. And I don't know much about nursing, so hopefully you're going to fill me in. I did tell everyone pre-meeting that I don't like needles, right? I'm not a needle fan. What was the most fun match you had this year? I always like to know what was the most fun you had wrestling. Who was your best match, or when you got that moment, right? What was that aha moment this year for you?
Definitely states. Yeah. But I think the match that probably changed my whole mentality was Eastern States.
Okay.
Finals.
Here we go.
Yeah, I went in. I lost it. Ugh. And that was the only match I lost all year. But I'm going up to my dad. I'm going to do this if she does that. And at the end of the match, the day later, he's like, "You never do that." Like I knew something was not right. And when I lost that, I was like, wow, I gotta get my head together. And then just from then on, I just kept working and working. Like to this day, that match definitely like makes me mad, but it definitely motivates me the most to just show like.
It's funny. Yeah. I asked about the most memorable match, and it was right?
That's usually the case. Right?
It's the ones we lose, right?
It's the one you can't get back, right?
Oh, it's brutal. But you know what, though? I think that's a great lesson because, Reagan, obviously, we have a lot of clients out there, and there's a lot of listeners, and, I feel like not everyone celebrates their wins. And it's hard to celebrate your wins when sometimes the losses are what motivate you, and the losses are what make you better at what you do, because now you think about, okay, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
And in a financial plan, did I not have things set up right? Did I not have organization? Was I not prepared for something? Because that's when you feel that pressure of loss or stress, and that's what creates problems, bigger problems for clients.
Yeah, and as you have had success in your career up to this point, maybe talk to our listeners, especially younger ones that are maybe in junior high and considering getting into sports. What, if any, conversations are being had now or have been had about college and the transition to college? Mm-hmm. Have they reached out to you? Have you reached out to different colleges? Have you looked at that from a sports or from a career standpoint?
I've gotten reached out to so many colleges. Like they've reached out to me. I've reached out to a couple of them. But for me, it was more always academics over athletics, and my dad's always told me that. He's like, don't go to a college to wrestle.
Use your brain.
Yeah. And for me, I always thought, like, I came from Tamarack, which is a small school, so I'm not ready to go to these big schools like Iowa or the Sacred Heart and be in a class with 100 people, and then at Elmira is, I think it's max 15. People in my nursing class.
And so our listeners know that's where you're committed to at this point.
That's where Reagan's going to be wrestling in college next year. What weight are you going to wrestle next year?
I want to go 24.
Oh, it's going to be an aggressive cut for you. It's not the same as high school, right? Yeah. Mark kind of hit it on the head. So for our younger listeners, especially, girls wrestling is really taking off. The balance between academics and scholastics is critical, right? Yeah. And as an athlete, we've had a lot of athletes on here. Managing and maintaining a great schedule, right? Sleep schedule, eating schedule, being on top of homework obviously is huge for you. Important. Oh, yeah. When you go to college and transition to Elmira, I guess what's the thing you're most stressed about? What's the thing you're concerned about?
Definitely balance.
Okay.
But Cody Griswold, the head coach, he's always kept me positive. At Elmira, you have study hours, so you get to go in and obviously study. Mm-hmm. So that's different from high school. They make you study. They
force you to sit down, and there's no phones, and you sit there for 2 hours. They kicked me out of my study hall because I had all A's in the first semester at Syracuse. So I hope you get kicked out because you're doing too good in school.
Yeah, me too.
You're putting the needle in the right vein and not killing anyone in the first semester. That's what our goal is here, right?
I can say, I'm definitely not nervous for nursing itself because it's something I've always wanted to do. I look up to my aunt the most.
That's awesome.
And she actually just became a doctor, and just
awesome.
I love watching her just succeed in everything she does. So I hope I get there with nursing.
Well, I think just like wrestling, you set yourself a goal, right?
Yeah.
And then you achieve that goal with baby steps and with incremental growth, and then over time you look back and go, wow, I got here because of these wins, but then there's going to be a couple losses in there that you have to deal with.
Yeah.
You're going to have to overcome those losses. Mm-hmm. You just got your first NIL text, right? Yeah. You shared that with me last night, which was cool, which is a forever expanding territory. Talk to me a little bit about, financing college or even backtracking, through high school. Did anyone ever talk to you about finance in high school? Did anyone give you any money conversations during school? So I know your parents are doing it, but, during the school day, did you get any kind of those conversations anywhere?
I don't really think I ever in school talked about finance for things, but for college, I've always gotten coaches saying, I'm going to give you a massive scholarship, and they never text me back. But they would tell me this, and I'd be in 10th grade, so I wouldn't even be able to text them really.
Right.
But, the scholarship-wise, they can offer me a big, big scholarship, and it would be a school that I just didn't see myself at.
Okay.
So I always wanted to just be at a school that would make me feel comfortable.
Sure.
And Elmira is such like it's like tiny. It's like a tiny. I don't know if you've ever been there.
I have not been there. I think Mark has
Yep.
been there before.
It's kind of just like, it reminds me of home. It's such a small, like, and it's beautiful there. So I feel like I'm at home when I'm there. So it makes me feel really good. And it's only 3 hours away.
It's not bad.
Nah.
Because the homesickness is one of the hardest pieces of going away for college.
Yeah.
Right? I take it from someone who is a big crybaby in his first couple days
Yeah.
during football camp in 110-degree weather with no air conditioning, right? Yeah, I was a big crybaby. I'll tell everyone right now. If you say you're not, you're lying because it's brutal.
Well,
But
we've had Dr. Dean on talking about,
Yeah.
that a lot of times the bigger schools like the Yales, the Vanderbilts and stuff like that have similar schools with better placement ratios
Yep.
that are smaller in nature and feel more family,
right.
and I think that's the important thing is, right, you have to feel comfortable at the school.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to go to an Iowa, you better be prepared for a ton of stress, a totally different environment, right? You're going to be you're under the gun constantly. Whereas at an Elmira, again, I don't know the history of their wrestling program. I'm guessing it's pretty good. I'm guessing they have a pretty rich history in wrestling.
Yeah.
But, I want to, hear from you as you enter, college as a collegiate athlete. What are your goals in the wrestling arena? Because obviously you want to become a fully licensed nurse. You want to, hopefully become a doctor or whatever it may be, a PA. In the college arena, what do you think your desires and accomplishments would want to be?
Definitely a national champ.
You want a national championship.
Yeah. But I gotta, that's my end goal, but I always have smaller goals. So as of right now, I want to win my first college match.
Here we go.
But I also want to get in the room and just have fun, for the next 4 years of my life.
So,
Well, we're also in a unique time where the Olympics are going on right now.
yes. We get
And,
to
you know what I mean?
see them. Yeah, live action, right?
And there is always that progression, right? So it's just a question of how far you want to take it.
Is it Olympics for you one day?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, or is it MMA? Is it? Are you going to be a cage fighter and you're going to go learn how to box and jiu-jitsu when you're done with wrestling?
I gotta win that gold medal first.
You want the gold? All right, hopefully we could be sitting 20 feet behind.
Mom
your
and
dad
Dad might be saying yes right now to the cage war stuff that you like.
Oh, I want UFC. Yeah, I want cage wars. I want UFC, man. And, it's the best UFC. Yeah, no, money signs, right? I mean, the best UFC fighters are based in wrestling.
Yeah.
Well, based in
I
wrestling.
want to go back to something that
Sure, yeah.
the conversation just a few minutes prior is, we had asked about what was given at the school level. And this is a shortfall for our public education system across the board, and that's
Financial
the lack
literacy.
of financial literacy.
Yeah.
So I'm encouraging listeners that are out there, contact your local school, put them in contact with us as an organization, because with what we've built up through your Coach Your Money, your Time Your Money, and Iron Tree Financial, we can go in there and do those literacy courses for kids.
Yeah.
Go into high schools, whether it's in person locally or via Zoom, and instill our custom program that we have to educate the youth into finance. So I think that's important because we see that a lot.
It's basics, right? You're talking about the custom program is basics, right? Like Reagan, even coming out of high school, do you know the difference between a bank account and a brokerage account?
No.
Okay, right? That's a problem.
Well,
right?
even simpler. I get it
even
from
more simple.
I get it from my parents is they don't teach kids how to balance a checkbook anymore, right?
right?
You hear that all
Yeah.
the time. Or use your app.
Right, just use your app.
Right.
Right.
But that's to the point. Is it's not being taught in public schools, unfortunately.
Or I'll go one further. Do you know what New York State tax is on income?
No.
Do you know what federal tax is on income? No. Right. Okay. So these are things and I'm not putting you on the spot because I want you to know. I do want you to know it, but high school and even in college, they're not really delving into that. No. So we're getting athletes that are getting NIL offers of $40,000 or $50,000.
Name, image, likeness.
Right.
For
NIL
listeners.
is your name, image, likeness, which I'm guessing so what happens is, Reagan, a business that's affiliated with the school is going to say, hey, Reagan, I want to use your name, image, likeness for our business, right? Car dealership, a grocery store, and then they're going to give you a check, right? Or they're going to deposit it for you somewhere. Well, what do you do? How do you tackle it? Where does it go? What are the tax liabilities? Should I have this much money in my name? This is where a lot of athletes get in trouble because they don't know, they don't realize that there is going to be taxes, or I am responsible for XYZ appearances, and how do I spend this money? How do I save this money? Who do I trust with this, right? So it's always great questions to ask, and that's why, you know, ultimately when you share an experience like wrestling, you know that other people like myself have gone through hell to be successful, and they're willing to put their body on the line, just like now as advisors, we're willing to put our reputation on the line to say, hey, we know how to teach financial literacy, and we want to empower people, especially women listeners and especially athletes, to make good choices. Because if you make one bad choice, in a split second, you're deep into tax trouble, and now you're getting letters from the IRS, which is never fun, right? We don't want those letters coming in the mail. So talk to me a little bit about, I guess, your biggest fear going to college. What are you most scared of? I always like to kind of know that, and it could be nothing because you're tough as freaking nails. So
Definitely leaving my parents.
Okay, leaving home.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get you an iPad. You can do some FaceTimes with them, right?
Yeah. I'm probably gonna FaceTime them every time I walk to class. When I go home, I realize I go home a lot, and I just sit in my bed, and they're there in the house, so I can just walk out of the room and talk to them.
Right, they're right there.
But when I go to college, I'm gonna walk out the room and there's a hallway.
There's your crazy roommate who's up until 2 a.m, playing beatbox or whatever, right?
And we're in the world of social media. How can listeners, if they want to follow your journey, what's the best way to follow your journey? You have an Instagram? Do you have?
I have Instagram.
Okay, and how would they contact you through that?
Just, I think you message, DM people.
What's your handle?
Yeah, what's your handle on Instagram so people can watch your matches as you hopefully wrestle in the Olympics one day?
I think my Instagram is RAGAN.RETELL.
Is it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Obviously excited to have you here. Anything else popping up in your brain that you want to chat about? Anything else that you're excited about or pumped about, or just happy to win a state championship? You could
definitely can say this summer my whole 2023-2024 season has definitely it's been a blessing.
Oh, that's great.
I did the states, and then I got to go to this Olympic training camp.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I got to go and train I got to go with a couple of my friends, so I knew people, but I was in the room with people going to the Olympic trials. I got to train with them.
Wow.
And it was so cool. And then they brought us through workouts that they did, and that was quite the workout.
I guess I can ask one follow-up question. You're a pretty highly touted local athlete. Did you get a lot of pressure and a lot of phone calls and a lot of spam as you've been more successful? Have you felt people creeping in, or asking for information or trying to follow you or whatever the case may be, when you're hey, I don't want that attention, I want to focus?
Yeah.
Have you felt that pressure?
Yeah. I get a lot of, I think it's just more as I have become more successful with wrestling, more college coaches start reaching out to me.
Right.
Not people, but that's the pressure because I'm already committed, and then they're here giving me opportunities with scholarships, and I'm like, whoa,
yeah.
What do I do now?
Right? I'm in a pickle, right?
Yeah.
I'm in a pickle. I got money coming in. Obviously money doesn't drive everything. It's about how you feel, and it's about how you know you're going to interact with an environment. And just remember, Reagan, as you get older, you're going to change. You're going to have different desires and different wants in your life, and you're going to learn stuff, and you're going to grow. And then we'll always be here for you in the sense of a sounding board as you need help and you need information. Hey, I'm in this situation. What do I do? Right? Because we've been there before. We've done a lot of this stuff. But ultimately, I'm happy you had a great season. I'm happy you're here with us today. And Reagan is a very, very shy person, so I give her a ton of credit for showing up and being on camera with us. But we wanted to champion you because you are a state champ. You're from the local area, and you're going to be a killer in college.
Can't wait.
We're excited.
Well, thank you for coming in today.
Yeah. As always, you can find us at 43 British American Boulevard, Latham, New York, 12110. You can always reach us at 844-444-YTYM. And like always, you can find us at yourtimeyourmoney.net for your net worth. Mark, I appreciate you being here with us today. And Reagan, you're a rock star. Good luck in college. And as always, it's your coach
and your money. All right, guys, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Your Time, Your Money. We really appreciate it. If you enjoyed today's episode, please feel free to share this with friends, family, coworkers, anyone else that you think might be interested. If you do have questions or topics, you can always email them to irontreefinancial@ceterais.com. Please follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Spotify, Google Play, and many other sources that were available. And you can reach us at 844-444-YTYM. And as always, it's your time and your money.